Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. My name is 𝗨𝗪𝘁. Welcome to another episode. Today, I'm going to tell you about the most exciting project of 2020. Hands down, it is insane. I've been doing research the past week, and all day today, I have been researching the hell out of Polkadot. What happens when you take the world's best cryptographers and engineers, let them build the most powerful blockchain on the planet, put it in the real world for 5 years, look at all the problems that it has, and then build something from scratch that is vastly superior, and then give it to us in 2020. You get Polkadot, baby. If that sounds good to you, I will tell you all about Polkadot, why I'm so freaking bullish on it. I will also go into price speculation at the end. I will tell you exactly where I think it's going, including timelines, market cap, and price. So stay tuned to the very, very end, because this is going to be a very informative video. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with everybody. Thank you so much. I will see you in a second. Okay, everybody, welcome back. All right, let's jump into this. So to understand where Polkadot came from, you have to kind of understand who's behind it and what qualifies them to build such an ambitious project. So you will see it is actually Dr. Gavin Wood, who was the CTO of Ethereum. And he also has some other really brilliant guys on his team. And the whole team is actually huge, and you can't see the entire team here. There's a lot more than Polkadot. You also have the Substrate and 𝗨3.0 Foundation, things like that. But trust me when I say that there is an incredible team of the brightest minds in cryptography, distributed ledger systems, DevOps, things like that, that are behind the Polkadot team. So let's jump into kind of what is Polkadot. And I just want to make a funny observation here. The first time that I saw this, it looked extremely familiar to me. And I remember on a Joe Rogan podcast I was watching, they were talking about, I will show you the picture. Look at this picture here, and now look at this picture here. And I just think it's incredibly, it's totally side note from this video, but it actually makes a really good comparison, right? So what this is this is an fMRI scan of the brain to show brain activity and communication pathways between different parts of the brain. So these parts on the outside, these different colors, are different parts of the brain, and these lines in between indicate different communication pathways and the amount of communication that's happening in between them. So you can think of this on the left as a legacy. It's kind of where our blockchain ecosystem stands today, where if each of these colors on the outside represented different blockchains, and the lines in between were how we're just kind of starting to see interoperability between different chains. But as you can see, large in part, a lot of these chains aren't connected to each other at all. For example, this purple one down here doesn't talk to anybody else, right? Now, this is this fMRI scan of the brain after psilocybin, someone taking magic mushrooms. And you can see that there's far more communication between every different part of the brain, or in this case, it would be a blockchain. So now you have full interoperability and vastly more throughput. I don't know. I just thought it was interesting because it looks so extremely similar, in my opinion, to this. And I will explain what this is here. So what this is, this dotted gray line on the inside here is what's called a relay chain. And outside on each one of these will be its own blockchain, or in Polkadot, they call it a parachain. And over here, this is one parachain, but it rents out to different blockchains that don't need consistent access to record data to the relay chain. So this is called a parathread. And these lines out here are bridges being built to other blockchains such as Ethereum or Cardano or Cosmos, things like that. And then in here, you see all the communication pathways between different blockchains in the Polkadot ecosystem. So take it what you will. I just thought it was an interesting observation. So Polkadot, I will just tell you, the way I like to consider Polkadot is I say Polkadot is a layer 0, where if Ethereum is a layer 1, or Cardano is a layer 1, or Elrond is a layer 1, Polkadot, this relay chain is really what Polkadot is all about. And what they do is they create a standard, and this is built off of Substrate, and I'll get into Substrate in a little bit. But what that does is it creates a standard that any parachain that wants to connect to the relay chain needs to obey by that standard, so that it can natively communicate with other parachains in the network. Now, a parachain could be a blockchain like something like Ethereum or something, where you can have smart contract-based apps that are built on top of it. But a parachain doesn't have to be a blockchain in that regard. It could be an enterprise chain for a financial system. It can be an Oracle chain. It can be a privacy currency chain. It doesn't necessarily have to be, nor probably will they all be, smart contract-based blockchains. So I'll just read. I'm going to go through this page of the technology page on the Polkadot site, so you can get a kind of a good idea. And I spent the better part of an entire day reading through light paper and white paper. And so I'm going to read just this one page on the Polkadot website and give you my input on interpretation from everything else that I've read and researched throughout the day. Now, I have been researching Polkadot because we are building paid network on top of Polkadot. And so it is fascinating. And I was bullish on Polkadot before, but after doing all this in-depth research and just realizing what an enormous leap forward in underlying infrastructure technology Polkadot is, I'm extremely bullish on Polkadot right now. So Polkadot is a network protocol that allows arbitrary data, not just tokens, to be transferred across blockchains. This means Polkadot is a true multi-chain application environment where things like cross-chain registries and cross-chain computation are possible. Polkadot can transfer this data across public, open, permissionless blockchains, as well as private permission blockchains. This makes it possible to build applications that get permission data from a private blockchain and use it on a public blockchain. For instance, a school's private permissioned academic records chain could send a proof of degree verification smart contract on a public chain. This is a good example, and it's something that's actually extremely needed. You could also, there's a lot of other things that you could do for that. Let's say that you need to validate somebody's identity or their age, or the fact that they work somewhere, or whatever the case may be. These are some good examples of how a private and public chain might interact with each other. So in this example, one of these parachains can be a private enterprise chain, and they may choose to share some data with public, like earnings, for example, right? So let's say that a big conglomerate wants to run all of their enterprise stuff on a private chain. However, they want to publish records periodically to the public. They can do that in something like this. So this is actually really cool how they break it down. You see this up here. It's also, and then you have the key to what this means all down here, right? So I told you already what a relay chain is. A relay chain is the core connectivity. It is the layer 0, as I like to call it. Parachains are basically just blockchains that are built, and a parachain it's a blockchain built on a substrate technology. And Substrate is amazing. And this is one of the things I think what's going to be one of the catalysts that make Polkadot just so powerful. Before, if you wanted to build a blockchain, you would have to think of everything from security to consensus to like how your validators, what kind of fees you're going to be charging, security, all these kinds of things that require basically years of if you're trying to build from scratch, years to build a blockchain like this. When a lot of us, we would like to have a chain, but really what we're focused on is a business logic, right? So this is why I think Polkadot is going to be so powerful, because it's going to allow way more innovation to happen, because people like myself, we want to run a blockchain. However, I don't want to build a blockchain from scratch. No. I just want to have an idea that would benefit from a decentralized system, have a blockchain to put it on top of, and benefit from an ecosystem that exists inside of. So if I need to use an Oracle solution in my chain, then there might be another parachain that has that Oracle solution in it. And I can just reference that, and it can communicate with different parachains in the Polkadot network. So, and I mentioned what a parathread was already. A parathread is basically a shared space. So the Polkadot ecosystem will have approximately 100 parachains. That's it, the parachain slots. I'll get into the economics and how that makes the DOT token so high in demand once this thing gets rocking and rolling. But a parathread is something that will allow more people to participate when they don't need consistent access to writing to blocks. And a bridge, I already told you what a bridge is before. And you have the nominators, validators, collators, and fishermen. These are all guys that are participating in the consensus of the ecosystem, and a lot of them are going to require the use are needing to stake DOT in order to do their jobs. Like collators don't need to, fishermen don't need to, validators do, and nominators do as well. So I will get into the token ecosystem in a bit and why I believe it's going to have a lot of DOT will be locked up and pulled out of circulation, which will, supply and demand make the price go up. So the technical committee was assigned by Web3 Foundation, Gavin Wood and his team, and this was basically implemented in order to fast track things like security flaws or bugs, and then you have got council members that were elected as well to make decisions on the network. But ultimately, the DOT holders decide, because this is like a democratic type of governance model, the major changes that will happen in the Polkadot ecosystem. I mentioned a bit before about what Substrate is, and I'll get into that a little bit more in a minute. But basically, this is built on the most recent cutting edge, blazing fast, highly efficient types of code. On the infrastructure level, what also makes it very interesting is at the heart of it, you can use traditional programming language like C++, Rust, Golang, things like that to build smart contracts or build your blockchain language. You don't necessarily have to use Solidity, although there are projects like Plasm and Moonbeam that will allow backward compatibility with EVM or Ethereum virtual machine types of environments that will have backward compatibility with Solidity. So if you have a dApp running right now on Ethereum, you can have your dApp running in the Polkadot ecosystem pretty quickly. And this is what I think a lot of people will do. Well, the reason that you could call it a parachain is because it's actually short for parallelized chains. So where traditional blockchains run like this in parallel, not in parallel, in a linear fashion, block, and a new block can't be written until the previous block before was finalized, where Polkadot runs in parallel. So all these blocks are written, all these blocks. So the way, when I started reading the paper before, basically the entire Polkadot ecosystem can have finality of a block from every parachain at the same time, which makes it so much more scalable than the current version of Ethereum. Now I'll get into the differences of Ethereum 2.0 and Polkadot in a little bit. The interesting thing about the security model of Polkadot is that it uses all of the parachains and all of the validators in the entire model to create one security model. So this is incredibly important. You see what happens to smaller blockchains when they're independent. They don't have enough hash power or stakers involved to totally secure the network. So bad actors can come around and usually can attack the network for economic gain. But what's nice about Polkadot is you can join as a parachain blockchain and you get to participate in the shared security of the entire model. So it is extremely unlikely that anybody in the Polkadot ecosystem will have a 51% attack, for example, or any other type of attack for example. You have to remember something, right? So Gavin helped build Ethereum. It was a major part of building Ethereum. He was responsible for Solidity and things like that. Ethereum launched 5 years ago, and they started building it a couple years before that. Now, 5 years later, Polkadot launches, and Gavin had time to see the problems that Ethereum had. And if you build something the first time around, you will get to see, what could I have done differently? How could we have made this better? Now that we see it running and tested in the real world, what are the problems with it? And so where Ethereum and Vitalik are trying to take existing infrastructure and retrofit it to scale, Polkadot was able to take what they learned from Ethereum and basically build a brand new model from scratch, where you're not trying to upgrade the existing infrastructure. You just start from scratch, because it's much easier to do that, in my opinion. So like I said before, DOT holders will be in charge of the governance model. And I thought this was funny. Their consensus model is called 𝗪𝗵𝘁. Yeah, so on the roadmap, where we are. So first it started as a proof of authority chain. Then it went to nominated proof of stake. This has already been done. Governance and removing pseudo. So this was just recently done. And what pseudo is the command where it allows the Web3 Foundation to make changes in a non-decentralized way, in a centralized way. And they just removed this ability. So no longer is a Polkadot ecosystem centralized. Now it is actually decentralized. I believe the two things left to happen, and I think the balance transfers should happen, if they haven't happened already, it should happen any day now. And then we have enable core functionality. So this is the roadmap. And why I think why I am very bullish. Not only do we have mainnet already, but we're about to start seeing the genesis of all the things being built on Polkadot. Nothing is really operating yet. Parachains haven't come into the picture yet. So what kind of things are being built on Polkadot? Well, here's a few examples. Smart contract chains, like I said before, Plasm or Moonbeam. You've got data curation networks like Ocean Protocol, for example, oracles like Chainlink and other oracles that are being built as well. Internet of Things, financial chains like DeFi, things like that. Identity chains, this is important, decentralized identity, zero knowledge proofs, privacy chains will be built on here. File storage, incredibly important for paid network. We're looking to store our contracts on somewhere. And one thing that has been, consistently difficult on chain is storing data. So people are working on this problem as well. And then of course, a bridge to Ethereum and other sovereign blockchains as well. Let's talk about the DOT token. It'll be used as governance, staking. People, you can already stake right now. There will be approximately 1,000 validator nodes, and that will pay out very well. And it makes a lot of sense to become a validator node if you can afford it. If not, there's other ways to stake as well. Out of all the videos I've made to date, there is no other product I've talked about that I feel has as good of a risk to reward ratio as Polkadot, other than like maybe Bitcoin. And I am still a very, very strong believer in Ethereum. Ethereum 2.0 is going to be relatively similar to Polkadot. However, they're still a few years behind from having the full, complete rollout of Ethereum 2.0. But the scaling solution and a lot of the proof of stake switching should be done pretty soon. So I'm still incredibly bullish on Ethereum as well. Polkadot also rolled out in a way to be non-contentious to Ethereum, meaning that they're not an Ethereum killer, even though they kind of are, but they aren't. They're meant to, Gavin says, is meant to be symbiotic type of relationship with Ethereum. And while that is actually true, because I think all blockchains will be interoperable, what just makes Polkadot so appealing is really a few things. It is the substrate-based toolkit, and I will jump into that in a minute. It is the interoperability kind of taken care of for you. And it is the shared, there's a lot, the shared consensus and security models. It is really what they've done is they've thought of everything that needed to be done in a blockchain and put it all together in Polkadot. Bonding is interesting, right? And this is one of the biggest use cases for the DOT token. So if you want your own parachain, you have to basically bond a buttload of DOT tokens because they're going to be sold off these parachain slots. There'll be approximately like 80 to 100 of them will be sold off at an auction to the highest bidder, and they will have to be staking their dots in order to acquire those parachains. And it's a really interesting system, the way that the parachains the auctions are done. But basically, I've been talking to quite a few people who are trying to get these parachain positions. And I talked to one of the guys today earlier, and he said that after talking to some people, he thinks that maybe by like Q3 of 2021, it might cost $30 to $50 million worth of staked DOT tokens in order to be able to be qualified to become a parachain. So let's just say that it's $30 million and you have 100 parachains. Now you're talking about $3 billion of DOT tokens locked up just only for the parachains to claim their spot, right? So that's almost the current market cap of DOT and Polkadot right now. So I will get into the price speculation here shortly. Basically, okay, so, and I talked to you about Substrate, but really what's super interesting about Substrate is there's over 70 composable modules. Just in the interest of time, Substrate is genius technology that will allow people to come and really quickly build in the Polkadot ecosystem that don't have to build from scratch. It's like Wix, plug and play blockchain, and really cool things. I'll just show you some examples of what these kind of, they call them palettes, what these palettes kind of could include. So consensus mechanisms, they can include smart contract languages, they can include voting, they can include Ethereum virtual machine types of plugins, identity, treasury management, recovery. This is super interesting. They're implementing something called like social recovery, where I don't know exactly how it works, but it's a way that if you lose your private keys, you can recover your assets. I haven't heard of anyone else doing something like this so far. That's just some examples, right? Just fun fact for you, the smallest unit of Bitcoin is called a Satoshi. The smallest unit of a DOT is called a plank. And the smallest unit of a Kusama is also called a plank. Thought that was fun. So Ethereum 2.0, really, I didn't actually have a full understanding of just how much Ethereum was doing 2.0, but the models are actually extremely similar. One of the things that I think is very, very different is this right here. So with Ethereum 2.0, they have a predicted block time of 12 seconds. This means that the expected time to finality is 6 minutes, 12 minutes maximum. Polkadot's finality protocol, 𝗟𝗄𝗯, finalizes batch of blocks based on availability and validity checks that happen as the proposed chain grows. The time to finality varies with the number of checks that are needed to be performed. The expected time to finality is 12 to 60 seconds. So you want a fast finality blockchain, and 12 to 60 seconds is a hell of a lot faster than 6 to 12 minutes. This is a very good, like, if you want some more research to do, wiki.polkadot.network. It's written in a really great way. It's not biased I mean, maybe it's a little biased, but they do a good job at trying not to be biased in my opinion. Like I've mentioned before, you can build the best technology in the world, but if you don't have anyone using it, it's not valuable at all, right? So Polkadot just launched fairly recently the mainnet, and they have a huge ecosystem. If you go to polkaproject.com, you can see there's 244 different projects that have registered in Polka Project as being part of the Polkadot ecosystem in one way or another. Okay, and this is not a complete list even. This was done fairly recently, July 17th, but I could name about 10, 15 other projects myself. So there must many more being built that I don't know about that aren't on this list. But you can see the ecosystem is already extremely vast, extremely vast. I don't know what Cardano looks like or Tron, but I'm sure that there's just not this many quality projects being built on these other legacy chains. So let's get into the price speculation here. Now, this was kind of hard for me to do, but if you've seen my videos before, how this kind of works is I give you the current market cap, where the value of the ecosystem is now, and then I give you some kind of where the market cap might be in the future, and then tell you what the multiple is on what the investment is. And then here in this column, you have just an example, if you put $100 in or $5,000 in or $100,000 in. And then I give you some logic up here to the numbers that I came up with, why I believe, it might be able to achieve these things. And then I added something this time, the timeline. In my previous videos for the speculation sheet, I have not had a timeline. I thought it was a bit more relevant in this video to add a timeline, and I'll be able to kind of walk you through the logic a bit here. So right now, the current market cap for Polkadot is about $4.034 billion. And the total token supply is 1 billion. So the price per token is like $4.30 34 cents. Now, we've already seen the price of the token go to like 650 or something like that. And we haven't had the parachain auction starting yet. I want to show you something actually really, really interesting. So watch this. So this is Plasm. We are probably going to be building a paid network on top of Plasm. But let me show you something. So Plasm's goal is to become parachain. They've been working on Plasm for 2 years, and it is going to be a smart contract platform. They're going to they will most likely have their own parachain, and they are making the backward compatibility with Ethereum as well. But check this out. So they are doing what's called these lock drops, where basically you can contribute or lock up some of your assets, and in exchange, you get the Plasm tokens basically in exchange for doing that. And they just made this announcement 8 hours ago that 90,000 Ethereum had been locked up. That's $31 million. So this is serious, $31 million. And this is in order to help them acquire what they need to become a parachain. So you can imagine that once, like I said earlier, once these parachains start rolling out, the market cap is going to skyrocket. Not to mention everyone else who's going to want to stake. The 1,000 validators that are going to be included, those aren't parachains. There's just so many different use cases to remove the token from circulation. It's insane. So really, yeah, really. Okay, so for it to go, the market, as long as like this is assuming the Fed continues to go brrr, and then I'm also making the assumption here that if Fed goes brrr, and we have our economy doesn't just completely tank, because we've seen that we are extremely correlated to the American stock market and global stock markets. But let's assume that the markets do hold up. This is kind of what I'm assuming here. So if it goes to a $10 billion market cap, which I think it has potential to do in 1 to 2 months, very, very quickly, that's a 2.5x. If it goes to Cardano's all-time high, which why wouldn't it? I mean, after everything I've said, it would be insane for it not to. $30 billion, that's in 4 to 6 months, that's a 7.4x. So I'm imagining that if we're in the beginning of a bull run here, and if everything continues to go well, I think this bull run's gonna run on for about 1.5 years. Right? So I think that it's reasonable in about half that time for it to, because I really, really believe that there's enough reason for Polkadot to really catch up to Ethereum. And so I think that in 6 to 9 months, it's feasible to expect that we're going to hit half of Ethereum's all-time high to get us a 17.4x or $70 billion market cap. My guess for the peak of Polkadot in the next bull run, we could see $140 billion market cap or 34.7x. And then I think that we'd probably go into a bear market. So if I'm looking at this is kind of where my target would be for me to kind of, sell out and kind of be cautious, because I think this is kind of going to be a peak here. And then, I put this in red because potential bear market. And then I think kind of the peak of, or somewhere in the middle of the next bull run after that, 5 to 7 years, it's not unreasonable to see $1.4 trillion market cap, a 347x from today's price. So let's just look at how this might play out. $1,000 investment today, if it hits Cardano's all-time high, easy to do, turns into $7,437. $1,000 investment, if it hits, let's say it's 6 to 9 months, might be $17,353. $1,000 investment. $1,000 investment in kind of the peak of the bull run turns into $34,705. And so I think that Polkadot is an incredible long-term hold, right? So, if you have $1,000 to invest in DOT and you're looking at an early retirement, that I think in 5 to 7 years, it's not unrealistic for it to turn into $347,000, right? So now let's look at what happens if you have let's say a $10,000 investment. And just so you know how to do this, so I will post the link to this sheet on my Twitter account. Follow me at 𝗨_𝗀𝘂 with 2 S's, 𝗪𝗂𝘂 on Twitter. And I will post a link to this spreadsheet. And all you have to do when you open it is get file, either make a copy or download it, and then you can edit yourself. So you can put in any type of investment you want here, what you think the price may go to in the future, things like that. I gave you a base to work off, but you can fully customize it however you want. So let's say that you put a $10,000 investment into Polkadot today. If it hits Cardano's all-time high, which I think will do in 4 to 6 months, that $10,000 turns into $75,000. In 6 to 9 months, at half of Ethereum's all-time high, 10,000 turns into 173. At the peak of the next bull run, that $10,000 turns into 347,000. And long-term looking, that $10,000 potentially could turn into $3.5 million. 10,000 to 3.5 seems ludicrous, but I have been in the space for a very long time. I saw where Bitcoin was going from 2012 when I invested in it. And if I told someone at that time that Bitcoin would be $10,000 in 2020, they would have thought that that was ludicrous as well. I know where blockchain is going, and I do not think this is this is out of the question whatsoever. Just see how powerful it is to really forget the farming crap. Forget it. Look at solid product. This is as solid as they come. This is as solid as they come. Polkadot is solid. There are other projects that are more speculative. Polkadot is rock solid. The team, the technology, the ecosystem, they even have an ecosystem fund. I mean, you have a lot of money and a lot of people behind this. It is a very solid project. My videos are made to give you the best tools and education that you can get to make decisions like your long-term future, right? I'm not here to encourage you to and say that if you put something into Polkadot today, next year you're going to be buying a Lambo. It's possible, but that's not what the goal of my channel is, right? It is to educate you on sound, solid investment opportunities and show you that something like putting $10,000 today could result in turning you into a multi-millionaire within 5 to 7 years. You can't do that with any other asset on the planet at all. All right, guys, thank you so much. I appreciate it. My name is 𝗨𝗪𝘁. If you enjoyed this, please like, subscribe, share with everybody. It would mean a lot to me. I really appreciate it. Thank you for helping my channel grow. It took me a lot of time to research this video and all the other ones. So it would mean a lot to me if you share with people and help me spread the word. Thank you so much, you guys. Have a wonderful day, evening, afternoon, wherever you are. Bye-bye.